Chapter 15. One thing I owe you is the truth. The first day Lourdes came over to edit, I already had her money in hand and gave it to her the minute she walked through the door. She wasn't expecting that, I guess, because she looked shocked. I had always been that way when hiring anyone to perform a service for me. When I used to promote shows, I always paid the bands before they even got on stage. I'd look into their puzzled eyes and say, "Play good." And as a result, I always had bands calling me, asking me to book them again, because most promoters would fuck bands over on a regular basis, getting chased out of town eventually. To me, it was just good business, and a good incentive for someone who would more than likely go out of their way to work even harder for you, feeling that wad of cash in their pocket. Plus, they'd never be able to come at you later saying that you fucked them over. The transaction was done, out of the way, and we could get down to the task at hand. Of course, I had lots of goodies around for her to snack on while she proofread, and plenty of wine and weed to stave off the tedium of the meticulous work of editing. She'd read through something that tickled her and would turn to me, laughing hysterically and shaking her head. Fucking great, dude. Seriously. She'd say, wiping the tears from her face and catching her breath. To have the woman of my dreams, my muse, going over my work with a fine-tooth comb, poring over every word, enjoying, understanding my vision, then taking breaks, lying with me on the bed, drinking down the wine, praising my skills. It all had a sensual quality that was hard to put a finger on. It was the closest thing to paradise I could fathom. There was no other place on earth I wanted to be. I'd lie on the bed just watching her at my desk. I dreamt so many times while beating myself half to death behind the wheel of that truck out there on those lonely roads, of having her near, of being intimate, of sharing the deepest, most sacred parts of myself with her, of building something together. Those long afternoons we spent working together brought us even closer than we'd ever been, and were some of the most joyous of my life. She slaved away day and night for over a month, editing in my new works and piecing together the old stuff, putting them in the most effective order. And one day, after we both reviewed everything from top to bottom, we submitted it to bookbaby.com. I titled it, "A Marked Man, The Misspelled Ramblings and Pointless Poems of Christian Slander," because Lourdes always ragged on me about my spelling. The cover was an old picture of me singing at a punk rock show in East LA. A week later, I woke up to an email from them saying that my book was online and ready for purchase. We did it. While being one of the most gratifying experiences I'd had in a long time, the feeling that was far more palpable was gratitude. Lourdes evoked a real ambition in me to better myself, to not settle, just by being who she was and how I felt about her. I wanted to be able to give her and Luna the life they deserved. I didn't need much on my own, and was guilty of complacency as a result. But her and the baby lit a fire under my ass, and there wasn't much else in this world that would. I owed her so much for pushing me into doing this. It made my love for her and my resolve to make her mine all the more resilient. But I had to take that first step. My insecurities about my appearance had hindered me taking the leap and just telling her outright how I felt. I still had a tendency to cover up and try to hide how shitty I looked by wearing larger clothes and only sitting with her at certain angles and positions. Not because I thought I was fooling anyone, but just out of impulse. I also figured that the moment I let her know, she'd likely be repulsed and would become uneasy and would cease to want to hang out with me as friends. Every time we hung out over the past decade, I felt like I was lying to her, like I had some monumental, terrible secret I was keeping from her. And spending the time we had together now and learning to love her even more than I had before made me feel like I was about to explode from keeping it all pent up. I leapt out of bed and went to the computer and opened up an email to Lourdes. This was it. Now was the time. The truth had to come out. I started typing. Dearest Lourdes, well, here I am heading into the last year of my 30s. To say that it has been eventful wouldn't even begin to cover it. I have grown and changed in ways that I could never even imagine. To quote John Lydon, God, I wish I were smarter. I've learned, among many things, to be all right with my past, though. Lessons were learned and relearned, but not forgotten. Mistakes were made, but rarely repeated. I can say that with a clear conscience. I have invested myself in a set of beliefs and ethics that I truly want to live up to. In many ways, I have you to thank for that. It would be easy to sit here hating myself for the sickening, apathetic mess that I wound up in with my health, or for the mistakes that I've made, or for the things that I've done to hurt people, or for failing to act on opportunities to get further ahead in my career. I hate that those things went down the way they did. But the past is as dead as the person that committed those sins. That person is gone. I live in a brave new world, in a brave new way, seeing things with brand new eyes. Those mistakes necessitated the progress that I've made. From here on out, the game has changed. I'm through with selling myself short. I'm through with playing it safe. I'm through with cheating myself and the people I love out of all that I'm capable of giving them. That's why I have to write you this letter. That being said, this is hard. I have been in a struggle with myself for a long time now. A moral dilemma, if you will. It's like this. Fuck. I've been desperately, voraciously, hopelessly, utterly in love with you for 12 years. Is that shocking? I'm guessing that it isn't really. Now you might wonder what that means exactly. Well, it means as follows. At first it just meant, well, no matter who I'm with or where I live or work or whatever, I'd drop whatever was going on if you were to call me and say, I want you. Come here now. I'd be there in a hot fucking second. But over the years, it's come to mean so much more. Over the years of getting to know you and what a sterling, outstanding human being you are, and I say that with the utmost sincerity, I have grown to love you in ways that I never thought possible. Let me reiterate, I have always felt this way about you the entire time I've known you. But let me get back to what it means exactly. Fuck. I'm sick to my stomach right now as I write this. It simply means everything to me, Lourdes. I have tried to shake this thing for 12 fucking years. Please believe that I've tried so fucking hard to not love you. Please believe that I've thought about it and you every day since the first time I saw you. I swear to you on my life, that is the truth. But I've given up on trying. I can't not love you. I'm so very sorry. I can see the look on your face right now and imagine what's going through your head. Something like, what? No, Christian, no. Get over it. No way, man. I'm sorry, no. To which I can only respond, I know, my darling. Of course, I know. And truth be told, it makes no difference. That isn't the point. I know this is complicated, and I don't expect anything to change. And I sincerely hope that this does not get in the way of our friendship. I know your situation, and though I know you're not completely happy in your relationship, I still respect it. I just felt like a liar not telling you the one thing maybe the biggest thing about who I am. The fact that I see you as my soulmate, and that I want to spend the rest of my life loving you and making you happy. But it's not all romantic whim, Lourdes. I have very pragmatic reasons for feeling this way. I guess it's because I can foresee the funnest and most wonderful life with you and I together. Because I believe the old hack about behind every great man there is a great woman. And I know that I can achieve greatness with you by my side. It just feels like on some chemical level it's beyond my control. That every inch of who I am belongs to you. It's just where my heart goes. It just does. In the end, I guess it's not that complicated. Christian has blue eyes. Christian has a right hand. Christian is madly in love with Lourdes. My love for you is as much a part of me as my right hand. My love for you is as much a part of me as my blue eyes. It's simple, really. Sincerely, C. My heart was pounding in my chest and in my head as I took a deep breath and clicked on send. The cat was out of the bag now. I had to let the chips fall where they may. I picked up my cell and texted her saying, "Hey, we did it. The book is online. I'm a published author. I owe it all to you, love. But above all else, one thing I owe you is the truth. I just sent you an email. Please read it carefully. Thanks again." The next few hours were agonizing. My head was spinning with every conceivable scenario. Had she read it yet? And if she had, was she cringing with disgust? Why was it taking her so long to respond? Maybe she never wanted to see me again. Maybe the butcher read it and was coming over to hack off my limbs with a meat cleaver. Finally, I heard a notification alert for incoming email from my computer. The heart rate went up again. It was a reply from Lourdes. My hands were shaking as I reached for my mouse to open it up. It read as follows. Christian, God, it's a sticky situation. First of all, no, it's not shocking at all. I know you inside out, and it couldn't be more clear to me how you felt for maybe as long as I've known you. And you have big fucking balls coming out to me about it, especially considering the situation. Look, the only reason I figured we never got together was because we were both always with other people. The timing was just never quite right. This ain't my first rodeo, as in leading a double life. For now, the status quo must be maintained. Thank you for being the consummate gentleman you always are. That is the way it has to be right now. As it is, I spend a lot of time here pacing madly like a caged tiger, so I don't need any additional stimulation, if you catch my meaning. I'm feeling quite unable to focus as it is. This is one of the few occasions where I just really have no idea how this will play out at all. For now, it's all about waiting and seeing, examining every option, and there is drama, and I mean fucking major, at the conclusion of every possible outcome. If the situation remains static, it will be incredibly frustrating, but manageable. If things were to progress toward the inexorable outcome, it would mean me having to deal with a mountain-sized heap of shit sooner rather than later. And sue me if I sound selfish, but I'm not ready to deal yet. Not even close. Juggling dicks is one thing, but juggling the emotions of people I care about is something I cannot do. Everyone involved here deserves better, especially you. L. I wrote back right away saying, I understand completely. Just wanted to lay my cards on the table. Now you know. I was relieved as much as I was disappointed. I felt a huge weight off my shoulders, and I had learned long ago to hope for the best, but expect the worst. I respected her position. Of course, I would have loved for her to write back saying that she was just waiting for me to pull the trigger, and that she was heading over to pick me up and drive me to Las Vegas to tie the knot, which I would have without hesitation. But I knew deep inside I didn't have that kind of luck. It was a painful pill to swallow, but I got it down regardless. But upon rereading her reply, I realized there were a few small glimmers of hope. For one, she did say the only reason we never got together was because we were always with other people, which I took to mean that had we been single, she would have considered it. She also said that she didn't know what she was going to do, confirmed that she was in the process of figuring it out, and that her intent was to leave ultimately when the time was right. I also took from it that she had conflicting feelings when she said she didn't need any more stimulation and was having a hard time focusing. Did that mean she found me stimulating? That I was breaking her focus? There was not a big fat no there. What I got from it was, maybe. Wait. Give it time. We'll see. And you're in my head too. Which was better than nothing. Regardless, I didn't think I'd be seeing her much anymore. She'd probably want to avoid leading me on and would pull back from spending so much time with me, if any. I was very unhappy about that. But at least I could hold my head high, knowing that I had the courage to say my piece. But then I got a very unexpected surprise. She texted me the very next morning, asking me if she could come over and hang out later that afternoon. You could well guess what my answer was. I rushed out and bought another gift bag, this time to thank her for her hard work. There was good wine, cheese and crackers, 2 packs of her favorite cookies, gourmet potato chips, a dozen roses, and a nice fat sack of the chronic. She came through the door in a huff. She seemed frustrated and a bit rushed. She laid with me on the bed and cuddled with Mona. It was awkwardly silent. We didn't even look at each other. I broke the ice, saying, "There's no need to feel weird here. I'm the same person. It's just that you know for certain something you've well suspected for a long time. You don't owe me anything. There is and never will be any obligation between us. If you just want to be friends, I would be more than satisfied with that, because I just love being in your presence." "Yeah, that's easy for you to say, but now I'm faced with some heavy shit. Do I stay where I'm deeply unhappy and unsatisfied, or start something with someone I know will treat me like a queen, but to be with I'll have to break up a family and have to deal with our families and friends freaking out? I mean, fuck." I was utterly stunned. She was actually considering this. I got nervous. I felt like we were moving too fast. I put the brakes on. "Whoa. I don't want you to stress about anything. There is no pressure here. I just wanted to tell you the truth, that's it. No moves have to be made here. Just because I have these feelings doesn't mean anything. Let's just leave it at that and have a smoke." "What? You don't smoke weed," she said, giving me a weird look. She was right. Weed made me terribly anxious. Maybe the years of snorting coke and meth on the road had fried my pleasure sensors and made the experience more intense. Not to mention the fact that weed was about 1,000 times more potent than it was when I was a regular smoker. "I know I don't, but what the hell?" I packed us a bowl and popped a bottle of wine, and within minutes, we were fucking smashed. It seemed as though we both needed it. There was a lot of pent-up tension and emotion in that room, and we needed a release. "I can't stay. I have to get home. The sitter has to get going," she said, heading out the door. Wait, I have something for you, I said, going into the kitchen for her gift bag. Christian, no, I can't take this. Ken will start asking questions. It's for all the hard work you did on the book. Tell him that. Just leave it here so we can enjoy it together. I'll see you tomorrow, she said, kissing me on the cheek and rushing out the door. She's coming back tomorrow? I thought to myself. Wow. Okay then. I guess she isn't going to feel weird about hanging out with me after all. All of this was very promising indeed. I was feeling extremely anxious from the weed. I decided to down some more wine. I popped another bottle and drank the whole thing. You'd think that would knock me out, but I felt full of manic energy. I wanted out of my room. I threw on a pair of shoes and put my headphones on, plugged them into my iPod shuffle, and headed out the door like a maniac on a mission. I walked down to the beach, music blaring in my ears, eyes bloodshot red, staggering and laughing and singing out loud. I walked down to the water, out into the breaking waves, up to my knees, yelling out in German for some odd reason, Ich bin Übermensch. Or in English, I am Superman. People were staring at me from the beach. I didn't care. I took a leap into an uncertain abyss and lived to tell the tale. No more trucks, no more roads, no more longing, no more secrets. I was free. Free and in love like I'd never been before. Just then, a text came in from Lourdes. Where the hell are you? I went back because I left my sunglasses at your place, but you weren't there. I wrote back. I'm standing in the ocean watching the sunset, drunk as a hobo. I am Übermensch. She wrote back, OMFG. LOL. Okay, please be careful, Übermensch. Don't go drowning in the ocean. You may be feeling super right now, but I have some big decisions I need to make. I need you to help me bear the weight. XOXOX. I stumbled around on the shore until it got dark out. I walked down the beach, then up into the park, talking with other wayward drunks and drug addicts, passing around a joint and a pint of vodka with some of them, arm in arm, laughing, basking in our small fortunes. A bottle, a smoke, the warm summer night, some romance, a chance at a little bit of good feeling. I don't remember how I got home. Lourdes came by the next morning to check on me. She brought over a breakfast burrito from the Mexican restaurant on the corner and a nice big iced coffee with lots of milk from Starbucks. She figured I had to be hungover as hell and knew the cure I would likely need. It helped immeasurably. Our birthdays were only a week apart, and mine was just around the corner. I asked her if she wanted to go up to L.A. and have a dual birthday dinner on the day of. She agreed. She picked me up on my birthday, and we drove up to a little bar on Sunset called The Thirsty Crow. We ordered a couple drinks and sat at a dark table in the back of the bar, and face to face, I opened up to her and told her everything I'd been feeling and exactly what my intentions were, that I adored her more than anything or anyone I had in my life, that I meant to marry her, that I would do anything, wait however long I had to, no matter what. She sat there staring into my eyes. She was smiling sweetly. I reached over and took her hand. She didn't pull away. It felt incredible telling her to her face, unafraid, unabashed. This was a monumental moment in my life, one that I waited over a decade for. We drank many more rounds, gabbing on about what the future could bring. Listen, baby, I know it's hard to tell by looking at me, but I'm a fucking star, I said, drunk and cocky. What do you mean? You look good, Christian. Don't you know one of my biggest star crushes is on Tony Soprano? I was taken aback. You think James Gandolfini is sexy? I asked. Oh my God, so fucking sexy, she said. She shot me a suggestive glance and a wicked smile. This was a very encouraging thing to hear. I was a big, fat, bald slob like James Gandolfini. It was possible for her to think that a guy that looked like me could be sexy. This shot me over the moon and back. We finished our drinks and staggered down the street to an old Mexican restaurant that had been there since the 1920s. It had an old-school, gaudy Mexican motif, piñatas, red, white, and green pixie lights, black velvet oil paintings of Aztec warriors carrying raven-haired maidens atop of ancient temples, the waitresses making guacamole tableside, and a three-piece mariachi band strolling from table to table, serenading young lovers sitting in the dark booths under the colored lights. We ordered 2 big, icy strawberry margaritas, a nacho platter for an appetizer, then chili relleno and cheese enchiladas for our entrees. The mariachi band came over and started singing a lovely, soft ballad. Neither of us knew what the words meant, but we didn't need to. We just stared deeply into each other's eyes, smiling, holding hands, lost in the sweet perfection of it all. I tipped the band, we finished our feast, and headed back home. As we drove down the 710 freeway toward Long Beach, her phone rang. It was the butcher. Yeah, man, we're heading back now. Dude, it's only 8:30. We have plenty of time to go out. Your friends are going to be there all night. They can wait. Don't start with me tonight, Ken. I'm warning you right now. She hung up, looking furious. She dropped me in front of my place, put the car in park, got up on her knees, leaned over the console, and wrapped her arms around me. We embraced for a long while, which was quite something, because as close as we had been all these years, Lourdes was never a touchy-feely type. We said goodnight, and she sped off to meet the butcher and his friends. I was floating on a cloud. I could barely feel my feet on the sidewalk. I floated up the stairs and into my bed, stars in my eyes, and a fire in my soul. Everything was dreamy and glowing. I took a hot shower, got into some comfortable clothes, and got in bed. Not 30 minutes had passed when my phone rang. It was Lourdes. She said, "Me and Ken just had a huge blowout. I'm coming over." And hung up. "Oh, shit," I exclaimed, jumping out of bed, slathering on some smell-good lotion, and rinsing my mouth with Listerine. "I think this is it," kept ringing in my head. I don't know how I knew, but somehow I did. She came through the door with tears in her eyes. "What the hell happened?" I asked. "That motherfucker just yelled at me in front of all his friends and everyone at the bar. I'm so sick of that asshole and his fucking moods. He knew we were going out for dinner. I told him the day you asked me. He made these plans just to fuck up ours. He could have taken me out somewhere on the day of my birthday, but he feels threatened by any time I spend with someone else." She sat on my bed crying. I poured her a drink and packed her a bowl. I sat quietly listening to her grievances, which were many. The fact that he was cheap, how he threw little fits when he had bad moods, storming around the house, breaking things and scaring the baby, how he was a slouch in bed and couldn't eat pussy to save his life. She said he might as well bring a cow tongue home from the butcher shop and drag it clumsily across her clit. It would feel better than what he did with his own. I put on some mellow music. It was from a compilation CD of 1970s lowrider love songs. We both loved 70s soul music. After a while, Lourdes cheered up. The drinks and smoke flowed, and her tears turned to smiles, then to laughter. It was getting late, and she said, "Is it cool if I just crash here tonight?" I wasn't going to let this moment pass the way I did that one night back in the hotel all those years ago. I stood her up from the bed and said, "Take off your clothes." She lifted her dress over her head, kicked off her shoes, unhooked her bra, and peeled off her panties. I felt myself breathing hard, and I tried to control it, but I couldn't. I pushed her down on the bed and slowly, methodically, gently touched my lips to hers. I felt her tongue jam roughly into my mouth and her hand on the back of my head holding me tightly to her kiss. I thought my heart would burst right out of my chest. It was pounding so hard. Any other time that would frighten me, but I didn't care. I could have died right there in that moment, and I would have lived a complete life. My lips finally finding their way to hers. After all that time, all that lonely road, all those dreams. And her kiss was just as sweet as I always imagined. I made my way down her neck, then down to her small, pert little breasts. Her nipples were long and hard. I sucked and nibbled on them as she moaned and squirmed under me. Then I kissed down her stomach, pushing her thighs apart and sliding my head down between them. I could feel the heat coming off her cunt. Her musk was powerful and triggered primal, visceral urges in me. I took my time, breathing in her smell, peeling her open with my fingers, and slowly lapping at her clit with long, slow strokes, jamming my fingers into her G-spot at the same time. She grabbed her legs and pulled them way back, and moaned, and bounced her ass off the bed, slamming her pussy against my tongue, exclaiming, Oh, fuck. Fucking eat me. You're fucking eating me so goddamn good, baby. Don't stop. I looked up at her earnest expression. She was flexing her stomach and gasping for air, then laid her head back and let out a bellowing cry. Fuck! Fuck! Fuck you! Oh my God! I'm coming! Ah! That's when I found out that Lourdes was a screamer. I was afraid my neighbors were going to call the cops. She composed herself and covered her mouth, then grabbing a pillow and stifling her ongoing yelps and moans. I was drenched in sweat. Take off your clothes, baby. Cool off. She cooed. I wanted to, but I was extremely insecure about taking off my clothes in front of anyone, especially her. I peeled down, but did so modestly, pulling the covers over me the second I took everything off. She objected and threw them off of us down to our thighs. She laid her head on my chest and rubbed my big belly. If she was turned off by my naked body, she sure wasn't showing it. We cooled down, and she started gliding her fingers across my chest and down my stomach, wrapping her leg around mine, pulling it and spreading my thighs apart. She started kissing my stomach and climbed between my legs. My cock was hard, but not fully erect. I was feeling very self-conscious. She put those feelings to rest, though, as she rubbed my cock all over her lips, spitting on it, then slapping it against her tongue, stroking it to its full and complete potential. She slid it down her throat, jamming it as deep as it would go. I felt the muscles in her neck clenching on my cock. Never in all my days had I experienced such expertise in this area. Lots of women talk a good game, but few, very few, knew how to suck a cock worth a damn. Lourdes was the queen of all blowjobs. She worked and sucked and gagged and spit and licked and sucked my balls until my toes turned up, my legs started to shake, and I filled her mouth with what seemed like a quarter cup of hot cum, and she swallowed every last drop. It was an out-of-body experience. I pulled her up on top of me and kissed her deeply, sensually, with every inch of soul and feeling I could muster. I held her to me and could not stop myself from whispering into her ear over and over, "I love you. God damn it, I love you. I fucking love you so much." I had never uttered truer words in all my life. We fell fast asleep, wrapped up in each other, in the sweltering night, in the wake of our burgeoning romance. It was the best birthday I ever had. In the morning, I had expected her to rush off, but she stayed in bed with me all day. We ordered in some Thai food, drank wine, had lots more sex, and napped all afternoon. It was magical. The sun went down and she took a shower and got dressed to leave. "What are you going to tell Ken?" I asked. "That I spent the night with Debbie. I crash at her place sometimes when we've been drinking. He'll buy that." She gave me a slow, sweet kiss and dashed out the door. I laid back on the bed, bewildered at my luck. Just a few months prior, I was working myself to death, living with a bunch of strung-out losers, exhausted, depressed, lonely, sick, with no end in sight. And now, I had traversed a milestone accomplishment in my life, the most important of all, the pursuit of my one true love.